medieval women using lead-based makeup, Victorian ladies wearing literal flamethrowers on their butts, and Chinese women breaking their feet to make them smaller. Insane, right? Humans come up with some wild stuff in the name of beauty and fashion. Now I know some of you are in doubt. You're thinking, how bad could old-fashioned trends really be? Aren't I exaggerating for dramatic effect? But nope, I assure you the toxic, painful, and downright deadly clothes and beauty routines people invented in the past are even weirder than I'm making them sound. Let's start with the Renaissance era in Europe. During this time, pale porcelain skin was all the rage. The paler the better, because it meant you were wealthy enough not to have to work outdoors. To achieve ghostly white skin, women would apply thick lead-based makeup. That's right, lead, as in the heavy metal that's toxic to humans. They used mixtures with names like Venetian ceruse, which contained vinegar and lead. Can you imagine thinking it's glamorous to paint your face with lead all day, every day? Lead exposure can cause muscle weakness, brain damage, infertility, and even death. But hey, anything for beauty, I guess? Moving on to the Victorian era, which had some absolutely insane fashion trends. Let's talk about crinolines. These were huge hoop skirts made of fabric stiffened with materials like horsehair that made the skirt stick out dramatically. While this created a statement silhouette, it also turned the skirts into giant fire hazards. Victorian ladies were basically walking around with flaming torches attached to their butts. Crinolines were also major tripping hazards that made it super hard to navigate doorways and carriages. Can you imagine face planting constantly just trying to get around? All while baked in the sun by all those layers, since deodorant wasn't invented yet. Next, let's talk corsets. Corsets themselves have been around for ages, but they reached peak tightness in Victorian times. Women were expected to cinch their waists brutally tight. We're talking ribs cracking, bending over double just to breathe, insides being rearranged tight. That tiny waist came at a huge cost in terms of long-term health, but it was worth it to fit the beauty standards of the day. Let's fast forward to the 20th century. Did you know that doctors used to recommend cigarette smoking for weight loss? Wild, right? Certain brands were even marketed specifically to women as beauty sticks that could keep you slender. Of course, now we know smoking causes cancer, heart disease, lung disease. I could go on. But at the time, the focus was on the appetite-suppressing effects. Just given how glamorous smoking was made out to be in old movies and ads, no wonder so many people took it up. Another more modern, dangerous obsession: tanning. Going way back, pale skin was coveted, and tanned skin was associated with outdoor laborers. Then in the 1920s, iconic fashion figures like Coco Chanel accidentally got sunburnt on a yacht and started the trend of sun tanning. Suddenly, a golden tan became a status symbol, implying you were wealthy enough to take beach holidays. Never mind that sun exposure causes premature aging and skin cancer. Of course, now we know better, but people fried themselves in both natural sunlight and tanning beds for decades. I also have to talk about the chilling number of household and beauty products that contained toxic, even deadly substances. I'm talking lead in face powders, mercury in skin lightening creams, formaldehyde in hair products. The list goes on. In the past, many beauty products contained incredibly toxic ingredients like lead and mercury that slowly poisoned people. However, the dangers of these substances were not well understood. As a result, countless individuals likely suffered from lead and mercury poisoning caused by their makeup, creams, and hair products without realizing the true cause. It's shocking that these deadly cosmetics persisted for so long despite their life-threatening effects. Knowingly using beauty products containing poison seems unthinkable today, but it took a long time for the risks of lead and mercury in personal care items to become clear. Many suffered serious health consequences before these products were finally phased out. Another dangerous and painful fad: foot binding's cousin, high-heel shoes. While not as extreme, wearing heels, especially very high and narrow ones, can do real damage too. We're talking compressed toes, low back pain, shortened calf muscles, and of course agony while actually wearing them. Some doctors think regularly wearing heels over 2 inches lowers mobility long-term and increases risk of arthritis. But women still squash their feet to follow the sexy shoe trend. Of course, I couldn't do a video on crazy fashion trends without mentioning piercings. Now, I personally love a good nose or belly button piercing. But sometimes body modification can go too far. Piercings are a type of body modification that became very popular fashion trends in certain eras. While they seem harmless, piercings carry real health risks if done unsafely. For example, Victorian nipple piercings were done with unsterilized, red-hot needles. This caused severe infections and even blood poisoning in some cases. Though fashionable at the time, these dangerous piercings caused needless suffering. Even today, unhealthy piercing practices can lead to sepsis and permanent scarring if proper safety precautions aren't taken. Another potentially deadly accessory, toe rings. Now these can just be cute jewelry, but in some cultures they were meant to alter the shape of the foot over time. Wearing restrictive rings around your toes for years could cause nerve damage, deformities and gangrene. Let's move on to hair trends next, because those have sometimes been super toxic too. For centuries, people used hair dyes containing lead, copper, and even arsenic. Victorian women would ingest small amounts of arsenic for that desirable pallor, then turn around and absorb more from their hair dye. Then, in the 1950s, hair dyeing really took off, with way harsher chemicals that burn the scalp. No perfect hairdo is worth scalp burns in my opinion. Speaking of hair, did you know Egyptian pharaohs would slather on fat-based hair gels? Seems like a bad move in the desert heat. All that rancid animal fat literally attracted swarms of lice and other insects. Having your head constantly swarmed by bugs seems like a steep price to pay for a beauty routine. This just goes to show humans have risked life, limb and hygiene over the centuries, all to meet whatever absurd beauty standards prevailed at the time. We may laugh at the silliness of things like lead makeup and arsenic dresses now, but modern fashion has its own ugly side too. Corsets morphed into waist trainers. Foot binding was succeeded by sky-high heels. Arsenic hair dye became bleach and perms that burn the scalp. While we've made huge strides in terms of safety, there's still enormous pressure to change your body, sometimes in dramatic or dangerous ways. I'm looking at you, Brazilian butt lifts. Hopefully we learn from past mistakes and start embracing more diversity in beauty instead of these restrictive and hazardous trends. What about you guys? Did any of the ugly fashion trends from history I mentioned surprise you? What was the most strange? Let me know in the comments if you learned something new today. Make sure to like and subscribe for more disturbing fashion facts.